Welcome everybody to our annual internship talk. Thank you for showing up. To the speakers, again, guys, we'll have to keep it brief. We have a lot of people to get through today. Alex, that applies to you as well.
Yep.
And so yeah, I won't take any more of your time, so let's get started.
Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, can you still see it?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Hi everyone, so I'm Alex, and I'll be talking to you about the Naughton Fellowship Award, which is given to you to do an REU in Notre Dame. So I'll explain what that means in a second. So who am I? So I just did TP. I graduated in October there, and I'm doing masters in Cambridge now. But I did 2 internships. I did the Naughton Fellowship and the Hamilton one, and so I have some perspective on why it's important and also what it is. I guess that's why you want me to talk to you. Okay. And since I'm starting the talk, I think it's a good place to start with just justifying and motivating why you should do an internship. So you're probably all very excited to do a PhD in physics, and you really like doing physics. That's great, but it's competitive. And so to get PhDs, you have to demonstrate research potential. And to do that, the best way to do that is to work on a project through an internship. In first year, you don't really do that. Maybe you could do like a small project. Maybe for really advanced, you can do a project. In second year, you can. So you can do the Hamilton, or as I think Cass will explain, there's an Oxford one. There's also Laidlaw, and so you can start doing stuff. And in third year, it's really important. So in third year, it's kind of your last summer to do a big project and to demonstrate research potential, especially because you've learned some quantum now, so you can do some more advanced stuff, which is always good. And in fourth year, you don't have a lot of time because, so if there are any fourth years in the room, maybe put your hands up. Okay, and put your hands down if you have a lot of free time. So I'm guessing you probably didn't put your hands down. That's because you have your project, you have courses, you have job applications, master's applications, etc. So you don't really have time to do projects. So third year summer is kind of the big last chance to do an internship. And in fourth year, yeah, you're busy. Okay. And so the REU is in your summer, second or third year. And so it's just an internship, which is 9 or 10 weeks. You get paid, you live in Notre Dame, and an REU is the US institution version of an organized internship. That's all it is. And since you're not a US citizen, you don't benefit from the NSF funding, which is usually given to those students. So we need the Naughton Fellowship to go there. And it's usually awarded to 1 physics student and 10 engineering. But actually, that's not quite true. So you can go and look at who got it in the last years, and it's basically 8 people. And actually last year there weren't any physics, so it's quite competitive, I guess. Where is Notre Dame? So it's in the US. Here it is on the map. Here it is inside the town South Bend. And here it is again. So it's quite nice. You'd be living there for the 2.5 months. It's quite good. Okay. To apply to it this year, I looked it up. The deadline is the 13th of December. So you need to start talking to some faculty to get 2 recommendations. And you need to choose a project. So if you just look up Naughton Fellowship, you click on the first link, you click on Undergraduate, Irish students, to physics, REU projects. This is what you're going to be looking at, and you just go through the projects, you pick the one you like, you explain why you're good at it, and you explain it in your statement of intent. There's no interview, and there's only 1 physics spot for all of Ireland, or there might be 1 physics spot, so it is quite competitive. And you apply it on, there's an online portal, and you submit it to someone in Trinity called John Boland. Yeah. And if you get it, then you'll find out in mid-April, which is not too early because you have 1 month to apply for a visa, get all the documents in, go to the embassy, etc., etc. And you fly on the 29th, or I flew on the 29th. I got back on the 14th after spending 2 weeks traveling the US, which is great. Okay. How does the research work? So as I said, you go on that website, you pick a project which is associated with 1 or 2 advisors. And it's quite a broad range of projects, but Notre Dame is quite focused on nuclear and astro. So if you like either of those, then that's good. And there are a lot more experimentalists, so that means that, so I was one of the only theory projects, if not the only theory project there. There's some computational as well. And you also get to see weekly lunch seminars where a faculty from Notre Dame comes and explains to you what they're doing, and you can ask them questions and meet with them. It's fairly informal. And roughly how the project would go is you get there, the first 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to just learn the background if you haven't done it already. And hopefully by then there'll be no hurdles, there'll be no experimental issues, and you can just start getting work done. And then by the 7th week, you should have finished something, gotten some results, even if small, and then you'll be writing your draft. And then you'll be gone in the 9th week. But there is a presentation in the 10th week, so you have to kind of have Wi-Fi. So don't go to like a rural area, I guess. Okay. The pros of this internship in particular, I guess, is because it's uninterrupted 10 weeks. You're living there. Everyone around you in the dorms are also all doing the physics internship, so it's quite immersive. And you get a lot of research experience done if you want to. You can do theory, experiment, or computational, as I said. You also get to talk with a lot of kind of, you have a lot of access to strong researchers. Now, Notre Dame is not the best university in the US by far, but it's still good physics. It's quite good. And more importantly, you've gone to the US, you've gone to the university, and you've networked in the US. So if you want to apply for a PhD in the US, that's obviously beneficial. It pays well. And also, if you do well in your project, your supervisor might actually offer you a PhD. If you do well and you stay in touch. So that happened to me. I declined it because I'm not, I ended up not being interested in that topic, but it is possible. The cons would be that the scope of the area is somewhat limited in the sense that if, like, probably most of you want to do high energy theory. I remember wanting to do that, but it's, they don't have a huge group there. They have like 3 people, and they don't do the REUs. So, yeah. And unfortunately, if you do a PhD and you kind of specialize to a specific area, it's very hard for you to change in your career unless you're a genius. So just keep that in mind. So when you're living there, as I said, everyone's going to be living on campus, and you live in single-sex dorms because it's a very Catholic university. They have great sports facilities. You probably won't have a car, so you just have to ask someone who is from the US to drive you there. That's fine. They're happy to do it. Yeah, so it's 8,500 USD, but you pay quite a lot. So it's, yeah. Yeah, everyone was friendly. Oh, I forgot to say, so if you do go there, I guess maybe this is applicable for any internship, but there will be other people doing the internship, and they might have more or less of a reason to do it. So they might work less or more than you. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, it's social and it's good actually. Okay, and here are some pictures. I guess I'm not going to keep you too long. So this is the group. This is the group. We went to see Oppenheimer at the end of the summer. It was pretty good. This is a girl that came from Notre Dame with the band during November. This is us nerding out in the common room. That's a picnic. They have a planetarium, which is this is actually really cool, and you can see the like observable universe. This is where you'd be working. This is the office. This is the fridge you'd be living out of. And we went to an orchestra. There's a climbing wall. You can buy guns there. Or you can't buy guns there, but one can buy guns there. This is a dinner table. Oh, and this is the iconic Golden Dome you might have seen in the photos. This is me in New York after the internship. I would highly recommend traveling. If you have 2 extra weeks in the US, it's kind of a no-brainer that you should go somewhere. And this is a Zoom presentation, so it's about 10 minutes. It's kind of a standard one. Yeah, not a lot of pressure, to be honest. And yeah, this is the research I was doing. So I was looking at many-body nuclear theory. If you want to see which supervisor I had, it's the guy way at the bottom, Ragnar Stroberg, one of the only theory projects. So just keep that in mind. Oh, hold on. Yeah, they are very big at football, dorms, Chicago. It's basically it. Hold on. Oh yeah, and this is a room situation. So it's a very standard room. Bring your own stuff. If you get it, we can chat in more detail, but yeah, that's basically it. And I think that's everything. I guess, does anyone have any? Oh, this is my mail. And actually, just before I finish, so maybe write this down, or it'll be in the slides. There's so another internship which is not physics, but if you are technically oriented and you want to do something over the summer which is not work at Tesco, then I would look at Patch. So Patch is pretty good. It's for 16 to 21 year olds, and it was founded by my friend Tom, who just graduated in TP this year as well. You are put with a group, you get a mentor, and you try and build some kind of project, some kind of startup. It's pretty fun. I didn't do it myself, but I met people who did it. It looks pretty good. And here's a quote from Tom. And yeah, okay. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Alex before we switch him off? Oh, okay, yeah, thanks Alex. That was great and brief enough, so thank you.
Cool, thank you guys, all right. Good luck, bye-bye.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Isabel. I'm a fourth year TP, and last summer I took part in the DESY Summer Student Programme. So a little bit about what DESY is. So it's a research facility of the Helmholtz Association in Germany. So they actually have two campuses. So they're in Hamburg and then they're in Zeuthen, which is like basically in Berlin. In Hamburg is the main location where they have like their accelerators, and they do research on photon science and kind of particle physics. And Zeuthen is more focused on astroparticle research. Kind of just to put into perspective, so they mostly have linear accelerators, but they've actually had a ring accelerator called Hira, which was the main one basically until LHC was built, which is obviously the one in CERN. So just to kind of give a bit of background on them. So about the programme, this summer it took place between the 15th of July to the 5th of September, so it was about 2 months. It's a very large programme, so there was about 97 of us in Hamburg and 15 in Zeuthen because it's smaller. But yeah, so there was quite a varied nationality. So this graph up here, the bar chart was like shared with us on the first day. A lot of Germans, a lot of Italians and Spanish, and then a kind of a good mix of Irish, UK, American. There was people from Colombia, Thailand, Poland. It was very spread out across the world, which was really cool. It was great to meet people from different areas. Then, like, what you actually do, you undertake a project guided by a supervisor, and then you have to complete a report, probably do a presentation. There's also a full lecture program. So most days you have 1 or 2 lectures in the morning on kind of various topics given by researchers in DESY, kind of about their research. So they're really interesting. I mean, you didn't have to go to them, but it was a nice way to start your day and then go to lunch and then do a bit of work. They also provided us with loads of tours of the campus, so went down into some of the beam lines when they were shut off. You could also see the computer center. They brought us on a tour then also of the harbour in Hamburg, because that's kind of what they were mainly for back in the day. So we went on a boat tour, which was fun. Yeah, so you're paid about 800 a month, which isn't very competitive compared to some of the other internships, but they cover all your travel expenses getting there and returning, and also it's free accommodation in their guest house on campus. So all 97 of you are living in these 2 buildings, which led to a lot of fun. So you have, so just kind of briefly, my project, mine was a more computational project. It was a kind of algorithm for indexing diffraction patterns from crystallography experiments. It's a special kind of crystallography experiment called serial crystallography, where you don't know anything about the orientation of the crystal. You can ask me questions about that after if you want. These are some pictures just to show. So up in the top left, you can see some pictures of the guest house. So that's my room. It's pretty nice. Mine actually wasn't a very big room. Some people had really big rooms. It was luck of the draw, unfortunately. You had a shared kitchen. You could cook for yourself. There was also a canteen, but you had to pay for your own food, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, so we kind of went canoeing. We did a good bit of travelling around Hamburg because you're free to do whatever you want in the evenings and at the weekends. Went on some day trips. Actually, a few of us went to Berlin one weekend. Stayed in a hostel. It was good fun. I'd never been to Berlin before. So. Yeah, and also up here we had like a karaoke night on like our last night there to say goodbye. But yeah, so the application process. Currently, they haven't the stuff up for next year. I've been checking, but they say in the next like week or two they'll have it up. So last year, it required a kind of written piece on your motivation for applying, about 1,000 characters, just kind of chat about yourself. Your CV, your academic transcript, 2 references, and then you don't choose a project so much as they give you you put down preferences in the area you want to be in, and yeah, then they kind of get back to you if you're chosen to actually take part with a topic. I heard back by about early April, so that's that. Yeah, so any questions? Yep.
What's the sort of split between like experimental? Is that mostly experimental?
No, there was a lot of computational projects, and then experimental projects. There was some theory, but I kind of got the sense. So a lot of the other students were Europeans who were finishing their undergrad, which for them is 3 years, but they had finished an undergrad degree, so were kind of considered kind of qualified. So they kind of got to do some of the cooler theory projects. But I don't know, maybe if you pled a case, they'd let you. Then, yeah, a lot of experimental. There was some very experimental, like building machines, not so much as actually running experiments. It was very varied. It was quite interesting actually to talk to everyone about what they were doing. There was actually a few chemists, so not everyone was a physicist. There was some chemists that were doing more lab work. A few computer scientists that were actually working in like the IT center to actually, because I mean, obviously there's a lot of computational work going on there across all the research, so they need to find a way to make that run smoothly. So there's people who knows, but that's probably not so interesting for you. But yeah, I think you can possibly specify. Yep.
Is there any kind of final presentation of your talk?
Yeah, so you do, everyone has to write up a report, and then those are like published to a website and you can look at them. You definitely do a presentation, everyone did a presentation I think for their team, so like your supervisor generally has a team and you present to them. And then there was the option to present like a final presentation, but not everyone could, so it was limited in space. I didn't, but I actually shared it, so like chatted and asked the questions and that kind of thing. Yeah, there was also some people had an opportunity, I did, to go to, there was a conference on in Hamburg for kind of like X-ray research going on. You could go to that. We actually volunteered, again, asking the questions. But yeah, so you could do a presentation. Right, that's everything. Thank you. That's my email as well, if you want it.
So my name is Joe, I'm a fourth year in theoretical physics, and this is a little bit of a stranger one because it's not necessarily a program but more so like a visa opportunity. So it's aimed at any third years who are going stateside over after Christmas, or any first, second years looking at doing doing a year abroad or a semester abroad over in the States. So what is it? Essentially, it's an internship opportunity for people on J1 student visas. Now, I will clarify, that's J1 students, so visiting students, not just your standard summer J1. It's across America, it's not specific to an institution or a company. Essentially, to be honest with you, this might seem a little vague. The whole reason I mention it is because I'm sure some of you have dealt with global, they're not great, they won't say it to you. But so I found out quite late, and I kind of scrambled to get this sorted. But so they can be paid or unpaid. Unfortunately, because I found out quite late, it was unpaid. And now I had quite a good job working here before. Well, not good, but well paying. So I was able to sort of fund myself throughout the summer. But it was, yeah, definitely left me broke by the end of it. But great experience. Now, so it must be on a topic related to your field of study, and it can't be remote. So it can be hybrid. But usually, like, if it's lab work, it'll be in person. Even computation will be a lot of in person. Now, related to field of study, you have to justify this to the international office in whatever university you'd be going to in the States. You're talking to someone who realistically knows nothing about physics. Like, I remember I went in and I said it was about condensed matter, went through what it was about, and your man turned around and was like, what's condensed matter? So, like, realistically, you can kind of get away with anything sort of mathsy so long as the professor's willing to sign off on it. Now, what else? So, now I've just split into post and pre. So there's the post, you might have seen it on the first slide. You post completion, which is like after your exchange. You do it. Pre-completion is like during your exchange, so during the semester. Post completion, minimum 20 hours per week. Pre-completion, maximum 20 hours per week. And you must stay fully enrolled in your 12 units required for your visa. Now, they're generally found via Handshake's a big one in America. It's essentially LinkedIn for like students, where like recruiters kind of look around at it. LinkedIn is another, or just by the university department. So I actually just approached one of my lecturers after a class, and he knew another one of my lecturers was looking for students, and she kind of took me on. So yeah, basically I was in condensed matter, 2D materials, stacking them. It was a good experience, probably not what I'd recommend doing, but to be honest with you, I'm sure you're not too interested in what I did. So, generally your application will require this information. Now, the first 5 of those sub-points, because they might seem a bit repetitive, the first 5 is usually like a, I suppose, a document you fill out. So you're going to have, you know, description, relation to academic work. You're going to just have the details, I suppose, on the starts and end dates. Again, like, the relation can be tenuous, to be honest with you. Like, it's, you know, you're explaining this to just some random lad who works in an office. So long as he kind of hears something physicsy and there's a lecturer's signature on the bottom of it, he's going to sign off on it. Now, the 6th point there, the employer letter, essentially they're just reiterating everything you've already told them, but they're writing it, so it's just one of the things they require. Now, you will need financial documents for your post-completion. Now, if you're going to the States on exchange, you will have these sort of financial documents for your visa anyway. You essentially just need an updated copy of them. And, you know, that can also be, if it's a paid position, the payments they're giving you, you can argue that that supports you throughout it. I will say, the earlier you get on this, so anyone looking at going to the States after Christmas, you can even start looking now, because like the earlier you get on it, the more likely you're going to get a paid position. Doesn't have to necessarily be a university, can be a company as well. And then for the pre-completion one, which I'll admit I don't know too much about because I didn't do it, but you'll need your study list of classes to prove you're doing all the units, you're not violating your visa. And they have a few other documents. It changes ever so slightly from university to university, but usually that's sort of the general list you'll need. So the application actually isn't to, well, it is to the Department of State, but you don't make it to the Department of State like you would a visa. You make it to the international office in the school. And the international office in the school vets it, gets it backed up. Oh, of course, sorry, I should mention, my one was in UCLA where I was studying. Doesn't have to be in the college that you're studying in. It can be sort of in other colleges. Your college just has to sign off on it. So yeah, basically, you argue to them, they clear it, send it off to the Department of State. The Department of State aren't going to argue with the university. By the time they kind of send it off, you're kind of grand. So yeah, and that's done through the international office. Now, the details, as I said in the pre, full-time enrollment. Sorry, I didn't really know what pictures to include, so that's just Santa Monica. It was 15 minutes from where I was living. It was lovely, actually. But so you have to start your post-completion one within 30 days of finishing your classes there. So you can go off and travel a bit at that point, because they do make you leave quite quickly after you're done it. So like, for instance, I went off playing rugby over in New York for a week or two. It was great. And yeah, then sort of came back to reality. You're going to need your proof of employment. Essentially that will just be the letter or some sort of signed document from them just being like, yeah, you're employed with us. Now, this is one, you can hold more than one position at a time, and I say subject to hours constraints, so not really an issue for this. Basically, the total hours from all your positions have to be over 20. The reason I mention it is because, like, say there's one you're interested in that's unpaid, but there's another one that's paid that you don't really care about. You can kind of like take the paid one to fund the unpaid one and still do it. They're pretty relaxed about it. Like for my one, it was sort of show up when you want, work when you want. So like, say I was playing rugby and Gaelic football over there. Like if I had to go off somewhere on like Thursday, I'd just do like a long day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to fill like the 20 hours or a bit more, whatever I had to do that week. And then like they didn't really care if you disappeared. Let me see. And then for the pre-completion one, there are certain internship, there's certain classes of internships. That'll be specified on the university website. To be honest, I don't know very much about it. But they'll have some, it'll be some letters like DSPS, whatever. And basically, that'll just be a certain category. There'll be someone there who'll tell you if your internship falls into it or not. There'll be a few of them. Now, usually, with any sort of research position, you're going to present something. I presented to the research group at the end of it. Fairly relaxed, nothing too awful, just a slideshow. Basically, how I tried to improve a certain aspect of the lab's research. Didn't do a great job of it. I think I made it a little better. But you're only there for a few months, and usually you're joining in with if you're in a lab, you're going to join people doing PhD programs. You're not going to crack it open in the few months you're there. These lads are spending years doing it. There was a good point mentioned earlier. There is potential to be invited back for PhD. One thing I would warn about a PhD in the States is they're usually 6 or 7 years, because as I discovered, they don't really do much at undergrad. And you'll discover that as well if you go. Trust me, the classes will be simple. Now, you have a US Department of State end of program evaluation. Both you and the employer do it. It's a tick the box exercise. 15 minutes, how has your opinion on Americans changed? Do you like them? Did you have fun? Don't sell our secrets, that sort of stuff. Nothing too major. Now, the last point's an interesting one. So I did it for the summer because, I kind of want to graduate as fast as I can at this point. But you can stay, it can last for 12 months or the length of your exchange. So I was there from September through till June. So technically I could have done 9 months up until I could still be there doing it. And sort of taking a year off. If if you're working on a project you're really into or you think it's an option. But I definitely wouldn't take it myself. And yeah, great opportunity to travel. I did loads of it. I was going to include a few pictures, but some of them were less than flattering and maybe not too professional, so I kind of cut that bit out. But it was a lot of fun. Got around the West Coast, Oregon, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, over to the East Coast. Got to Vegas. It was, it was enjoyable. But anyways, just for some further details, email me if you need. And I've included a few links there just for a few different universities so you can see the specifics in there if you're interested for those looking at going on exchange. But they vary very little between the universities. So, any questions? Oh, all right. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Cass. I'm third year TP. I'm going to be talking about the UROP internship in Oxford, which, from what I understand, is pretty new when it comes to our community. I hadn't heard of it before. I just found it by Googling some shit. So I want to go through what happens at Oxford, the internship itself, eligibility applications, which is especially pertinent if anyone is an international student, and Oxford as a place. So what happens at Oxford? There are 2 programs. There's a TP program and a physics program. The physics program deals in a couple of areas. One of them that I found was, or from talking to people, seemed very interesting, was computational and particle physics. So it's kind of hard to explain the difference between computational particle physics and theoretical particle physics as an undergrad, because it's basically the same thing. But the people you talk to care more about they care more about the algorithms than the physics part. Well, to a certain extent, they care a lot about the algorithms, less so maybe about the physics. Biophysics, it seemed cool. Astro, I think Thomas will talk a little bit more about SETI and the deal with Oxford with that. Condensed matter, I think it is more experimental though again. Atmospheric, which if anyone's interested in atmospheric stuff, we're bringing over a TP alum from MIT in March. So I think that the internship should still be open around then. Very interesting stuff if you're interested, maybe might be worth looking into. The TP one, way more interesting. The one I did was particle physics, so I was working on QCD stuff. Again, a bit more computational, but I got to do at least a good few integrals, so it was great fun. If anyone wants to know more about what I did, I'm always open to YAP, so just let me know. Condensed matter, again, I'm kind of mentioning physics here because you can do condensed matter theory and actually have condensed matter theory, but I know at least one person who did a project where they represented a spin chain as a graph, and then we're dealing with like commuting around anti-commuting operators using graph theory. It wasn't physics. Like he said that himself, it just wasn't. Plasma, I'll touch on later. I hope I put it in. It's surprisingly actually quite interesting and pertinent to, I guess, the modern world now. If you're looking at like fusion or whatever, and pretty much no one has plasma, at least plasma theory groups anywhere in UK or Ireland. I think DCU have like a plasma experimental group, but it's not the same type of stuff. So yeah, the UROP, so Undergraduate Research Opportunities Programme, is probably, I think it's an opportunity to work with some of the like best minds in the field. Like Oxford are rich, they pay their people really well, so they attract the best. So yeah, the facilities are pretty good. You're in a brand new building. You're like the top half of the building is all theory, and the bottom half of the building is all experimental. Like they're all in the basement. So you you do get to talk to them when they come out of the Cretin Hall. Yeah, but it's nice having kind of that connection. So when you're at like there's like tea and coffee or whatever 9 or 11 a.m. every day, you can talk to people. If anyone was at Planck's, Seamus Davis has an office in this building. He might be UCC's new Nobel laureate in a couple of years, hopefully. Yeah, my own experiences are probably a bit now, well, a bit biased and only particular, but I was encouraged to attend QCD group meetings where I spoke to people doing research like mine or people who are doing completely different, like quark gluon plasma, really cool stuff. And work with postdocs. So postdocs are, as you'll experience if you get the opportunity to work with them, probably the life and soul of research. They're actually how the day-to-day stuff gets done. I say my own experiences because I know no one else other than the guy that I was working with on the project, no one else had as detailed or as large of an experience as I did. A lot of them were working with just like maybe one or two other people, if they even had their professor around or their supervisor around. So yeah, the timing is during the summer. Again, note that Oxbridge summer starts in June, ends in October. So you have, I think, 9 or 10 weeks to do it. I was offered 9, but some people said 10. I would so recommend using as much as you can. I know some people didn't go for the entire thing. I think it's a waste. If you're going to go over and spend a summer, just do it right. The pay is pretty decent, so it's £410 per week. That can get eaten up really, really quickly with accommodation. I know one guy, actually, the one thing about the Oxford programme, I don't think I've mentioned this, but it's kind of important to say, out of however many 20, 30 people that were there, only myself and someone else was outside of Oxbridge. So a lot of these people, they already have the connections with like colleges or whatever, and they have like an easy way of doing it. It's very much open to people outside of it. The other guy, he spent like all of his money on rent, but I just asked for help and they found me college accommodation. It was great. It's like 5 minutes away from the office you're working in. It's like amazing place. And oftentimes there are other people from the internship also living there. So you get great conversations about physics or philosophy or whatever. There are chalkboards everywhere. It's beautiful. There's like a spiral staircase that goes up all the floors of the theory section. Every corner of them is like just chalkboards. You can kind of see on the other end, like behind it on the floor, there are more chalkboards. Every floor has, I think, 4 small rooms just with chalkboards. There's no doors. It's just chalkboards. There are meeting rooms on, at least one meeting room on every floor, and all of them have just chalkboards. Like, the entire wall is just a chalkboard. The ground floor is just chalkboard, like, it's chalkboard, window, chalkboard. It's beautiful. The eligibility and application stuff is actually quite important. If you're not a UK or Irish citizen, I don't think you can get it, because you have to already have the right to work in the UK before you apply. You also have to be physics undergrad, I'd say, maybe if you're maths. I'm not sure if fourth years can do it, because they deal with third year. I know third years there can do it. I'm not sure if fourth years here can, but it's worth going for it. No reason not to. As far as the application goes, you get to choose your supervisors. I think I chose like 4, but there's no maximum. You might as well just put down anyone who seems vaguely interesting. Put down relevant experience, especially if you have any programming experience. They eat that shit up. If you have done any projects or anything, or just put it down. Exam results, I think I might mention this a bit later, but Oxbridge, for better or for worse, really care about exam results. So if you don't have good exam, there's no reason not to. It's a pretty easy application. But if you're looking for it, if you want to go for this, which is open in second year, which is pretty rare, put in the effort, get good grades in ACM, you'll be fine. Especially because our good grades look like amazing compared to them. And a letter of recommendation. So again, anyone who knows you quite well that you think likes you, I suppose, get a letter of recommendation. As far as fields go, you have loads of choice to do loads of different things, and everyone I spoke to was doing something interesting. Even the physics that that guy was doing. If you don't have a lot of experience with quantum mechanics and field theory, if you've done it in your own time, perfectly fine. But I guess this is more pertinent to second years. If you don't really have any experience with it, just go for plasma. It's still really cool stuff, but the difficulty of getting into it, like say the stuff that I was doing. QC, so it required some degree of quantum field theory. I had done a little bit of quantum mechanics and field theory myself, so it was fine because I had an extra year. But if you're not comfortable with that, go for plasma physics. It's really cool stuff, and it doesn't require you to get in over your head. For better or for worse, grades are paramount in Oxbridge. Yeah, it is what it is. Oxford Place, again, amazing. The architecture is just something else. If you do go, even on holiday, I would definitely recommend just standing and looking at places. You'll notice all sorts of cool details. Really nice people. Kind of a surprise, actually. You didn't get any, I didn't experience any people being overly posh or kind of condescending, whatever. Everyone there was incredibly nice. Good nightlife. The bars and the clubs are open during the summer. Excellent spoons. They have 2 of them. Really cheap Guinness and surprisingly good pours. Huge and plentiful parks. Oxford is a great getting out of Dublin, but Oxford is a city with loads of parks and greenery. It's amazing. Would recommend just walking around. Also, if you live in the same place that I did in St. Hilda's, your commute from the house to work goes through University Parks, which is just a massive park that's full of greenery. So in the summer, it's really nice to connect back with nature, and then go do maths or whatever. You get free admission into colleges, which they charge for most people. So you can just walk in with your Oxford card. The Botanical Garden too. So if you're into plants or whatever, you can go look at them. It's they're pretty nice. And that's it. Thanks for listening. If you want any advice or have any questions or want to learn what I did or anyone else are curious, don't be afraid to send me an email. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah? I would imagine if you're in third year, they'd probably weight it more towards third year. If you're in second year, they'll weight it more towards second year. Same with if you're second year, I don't think they much care about first year. I think if the previous year is most indicative of what you are currently as a worker. Oh, good point. The application actually isn't up. I've been checking every couple of weeks. They usually bring they brought the website online, I think, January. It was due, I think, sometime in February, and I got my result back April 9th. So again, pretty similar to everyone else. But yeah, the if you just keep like refreshing, I just had the tab open on my laptop for like months and just kept on refreshing it, and at one point it changed. Yeah, does anyone else have any other questions? Sweet, okay, thanks.
All right, next we'll hear from Lauren, who will talk to us about CERN. She unfortunately couldn't make it, well, she couldn't make it here in person, and she couldn't make it here live, but she did record the video for us.
Hi, my name is Lauren, and I will be talking about the CERN Summer Student Programme, which I completed last summer of 2024. Now, I realise as this is a pre-recorded video, I am really, really sorry that I can't join you live tonight to answer your questions, but I will leave my email available at the end of the slide. So if you want to ask me questions about anything, whether it's your application, whether it's any technical details or anything I've talked about in the slides, or even after, if you get accepted to CERN and want to talk about any insights or questions you might have after that, please feel free to email me. Very happy to talk about it. Okay, so what is the program? So basically, it's an internship that spans between 8 to 13 weeks over the summer period, and you will be working at CERN, the world's most famous particle physics laboratory. Now, I will state this throughout the slides, this is no ordinary internship. It is a fully immersive experience. You won't just be working all the time, or slaving away. You'll be having so much fun learning, exploring Switzerland if you want, doing workshops, enhancing skills that are fantastic for your CV, whether or not you want to go into research. You'll be making connections, like international connections, both in academia or research, but also on a friendship level as well. I've made some friends for life at CERN from my time, and the most lovely people in the world, and you'll also become a CERN alumni, which is pretty cool. You'll always be connected with CERN. You'll be sent CERN alumni events and such what. So they really don't forget you while you're there, and they look after you so much. So what am I going to talk about? So the breakdown of the program is your research project, the CERN Summer Lecture Series, workshops, and tours. These are all the key elements of the program, if I had to cut it down to size. But by far the biggest part of the program is your research project. It's your biggest task. It's what you'll be spending the majority of your time doing. So basically, you will work in a research group in your chosen field, which you will have specified on your application. That could be theoretical physics, computational physics, experimental physics, engineering, and whether it's software or manual engineering or biophysics, computer science, whatever. This is hands-on research experience. You'll be in meetings, presentations, you'll be making deliverables such as a report, or optionally you can make a poster or have a public presentation, but that really depends on how long you decide to stay in CERN and other factors as well. For instance, I didn't do a poster or public presentation because I didn't have enough data, given that I was only there for 8 weeks, but again, I wanted to mention it because it is an option. You'll be also contributing to new research as well. Like for instance, in my work, I worked with a team, mainly in theoretical and computational physics. They employed me because I have a degree in theoretical physics, and we were looking at ways to build what's called a probability density function. And these are the functions that use to describe, in our case, a very specific rare decay mode in particle physics. Okay, we wanted to extract observables and coefficients and see if they match standard model predictions. And there's a very good chance, we're still working on the research, that these could lead to observables that don't quite fit with the standard model, and it may indicate new physics given the simulations. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Really great on your CV, and also to build academic contacts worldwide, okay? So, and you'll have to, whether you're doing posters or presentation or whatnot, your project report for CERN will be actually uploaded onto the CERN web for faculty to read, which I think is pretty cool. And it's a nice bit of evidence of your project, of your work. Now, the CERN Summer Lecture Series, which I don't know if you've heard of, but it is extremely world-renowned, very famous, given by world-leading experts in from ranging from theoretical particle physics to engineering, collider physics, beyond the standard model physics, like experimental physics, quantum gravity, flavor physics, neutrino detection, whatnot. BASE covers everything. And you can chat with the lecturers afterwards. You can gain like really good experience with that, and also kind of you can dive into areas or kind of gain a little bit of interest and knowledge into areas areas outside your own field as well, and really gain interest in that. For instance, the first lecture series of the first lecture program is given by David Tong. So he gives a series of lectures at the start, and if you don't know David Tong, I highly encourage you, especially if you're doing theoretical physics or physics, to go to his website. His notes are incredible. I still use them to this day, and he's an absolute legend. So you'll be meeting and interacting with people like him in a very lovely immersive environment. It's also a great way to learn friends, like get to know people and make friends as well. Also, on the other side, so apart from the lecture series at CERN, you can take part in workshops that will really look well on your CV. Really, you can gain extra skills you might not learn in your research there, but are focus on essential software tools and skills used in particle physics research. For example, I went to a workshop on Ruth, which is kind of like programming to deal with the to deal with large quantities of data that they work in at CERN for different simulations and stuff like that. Or I also worked in I did like a MadGraph tutorial, so it's very using a program to compute Feynman diagrams and so forth, which is again very important if you're looking at scattering amplitudes and theoretical particle physics or experimental particle physics, etc. Or you can have fun workshops as well, like cloud chamber workshops where you make your own little cloud chamber. So yeah, they really cover a lot. It's really great fun. And again, plenty of time to ask questions, and it looks fantastic on your CV. Now, apart from all the learning and the work and everything like that, you also get to see CERN. Like, you're living in CERN, you're working at CERN, but you're taken on tours to learn about CERN's mission through its from tours exploring the Atlas factory and seeing the control rooms of the detectors where the Higgs boson was detected. You see the antimatter particle laboratory there, the data, CERN's data banks, to learn about how they store data in CERN, and also the first ever collider that was built at CERN in the 50s, 50s to 60s actually, the Synchro Cyclotron, which is in the top left-hand corner. Very cool. They're finally allowed to bring people in the early 2000s because the radiation died down. You'll also see that a lot in CERN, all these little radiation signs, but you're very safe, don't worry. Also, if you work in one of the 4 leading experiments, for example, I worked at LHCb, so I got to visit their factory, their place of work. So I got to see the control room, and I got to see, the map of all the detectors. But also when I was there, the detector was shut down, so I actually got to go inside and visit one of the very small detectors there, called Delphi, which was very, very cool. I had to put my hard hat on and everything. So that's another exciting aspect of CERN. Really unique. Very few people in the world can get into these places purely because you're not allowed onto the CERN site unless you have authorized access. So again, it's a privilege to have been there, and I would highly encourage you to apply because it's very cool. Okay, free time as well. You'll have plenty of free time to explore Switzerland as well. Here's a couple of pictures of some of the places I've been to with my friends. Very common for summer students to socialise, get together, form groups, and then go off on day trips to explore various parts of Switzerland and France. So yeah, apart from living in the beautiful canton of Geneva, you get to see, with the impeccable transport that is Switzerland, all these other places as well, if you want to. Now, technical details. I did mention that the internship can span over 8 to 13 weeks. Now, this purely depends on whether you're a member state or non-member state. Member state students are funded by their countries because member states contribute money into CERN's mission, CERN's program. You can find all of these on the web. I think I had a link on the slides. But if you're a non-member student, you have to be funded by outside agencies. So, for instance, Ireland wasn't a member state. I hope it will be soon. It will make your applications next year a lot easier if we were. But they only employ one member state student because they are funded by external bodies. Okay. So I was the Irish representative for CERN because we were no member state. So I only got to stay there for 8 weeks. Some people can stay for 13 weeks, and you will be working in CERN in Geneva. Now, your start date can vary. It's normally between the start of June and end of July, but they give you some flexibility in choosing when you want to come to CERN. The work hours are 40 hours a week. They're very flexible. For instance, like if you're working on an experiment, you could be working on experiment during the night because some experiments require conditions during the night to work. But again, you're only allowed to work 40 hours. That's a legal requirement. They can't make you work more than that. And you have to take your hour break for lunch. So they're very strict about that. Now, stipend, this is fully based on what I earned over the summer last year. You get travel reimbursement based on your proximity to CERN. You get around 93 Swiss francs per day, and that includes Saturday and Sunday as well, and that is net of tax. This also includes fully comprehensive medical insurance as well, so all of your needs are met here. Now, accommodation. Every year, rooms are reserved for summer students at either the Schumann residence in France. It's very close to CERN, and there is also a shuttle available to transport you to CERN free of charge if you decide to live there, or the CERN hotel. So you'd be living on site at CERN in Moran in Geneva. And I've just given a map there. Also, I put up there that every single street in CERN, because CERN itself, the campus, it's like a little village. It has everything. It has a bank. They have their own fire and safety department. They have obviously all the colliders and such as that, but they have restaurants, like in cafeterias and such. They have little kiosks, but they also have the hotel, so you can live on campus as well. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I lived on Marie Curie Street. Also, every street is named after a famous scientist, so yeah, that's pretty cool as well. But you are taken care of. You can also choose your own accommodation in Geneva as well. So if, perchance, you have someone, like if a relative in Geneva or France nearby, you can always choose to stay and live with them. It's not compulsory to stay in CERN. Now, the application, I'll quickly go over it. So you can, if you're a bachelor or master students or not a PhD student in physics, theoretical or experimental, engineering, computer science, mathematics, but also this includes graduates as well. So I was graduate of 2024 and I'm still able to apply. Also, you need to be registered as a student during your stay, and you have to have not worked at CERN before. So if you were a summer student 1 year, you can't apply for the next year. It's to give everyone a chance, basically. Now, the application itself, the application hasn't been posted yet, but the deadline is around about the 31st of January, the end of January of next year. And all of the things you need are here. You'll have to answer a variety of questions of why you want to apply to CERN, your motivations, your programming experience, all of that. You'll also need your transcript, an updated transcript, 2 references, and a CV. It can take a while for the application to upload, to prep it. So yeah, I would start thinking about it quite in early of January at the latest. Now, application tips. I will put this through because I know I've talked about how great it is and everything, but there is a slight catch. This program is highly competitive. It's around a 2 to 3% acceptance rate. When we were told that there were about 10,000 applicants and around 350 people got accepted into the program, and that included open lab students, which is another option as well. These are basically summer students, but they have extra lectures in computer science and programming, and that's all on their website as well, by the way. So a few application tips would include, if you have a passport from a CERN member state, I've included the link, use it. Because, as I said before, if you're a non-member state student, they only employ one, so your chances greatly increase if you decide to use your member state passport. That's only if you're a dual citizenship or something. Now, if you're rejected 1 year, please don't let that discourage you from applying again. I was rejected from CERN 2 years ago, and I applied for the next year, and I got in. I know some of my friends got rejected 3 or 4 times, and they managed to get in on their final attempt. So please don't be discouraged. It can be really helpful even just doing the application for the sake of it to gain experience. Okay? And also, because there are so many applications submitted to CERN every year, they don't actually check them themselves. They use a computer to go through the application. So put as many particle physics or programming jargon as you can into the application. I've also listed some books where you can reference historical papers and such into your personal statements or your answers and that, so the computer knows to pick out your application. Okay, so we want to increase your chances of getting accepted. Okay. But yeah, that's it. I'm sorry if I went a little bit over time, but I really wanted to thank you all for listening. And here is my email address. And please feel free to contact me about anything I've talked about tonight, or, you know, if you're interested in particle physics as well, I'd be happy to talk about that too. Or if you need any advice and such. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and apologies again for not being able to join you live tonight. Take care.
Hi everyone, my name's Thomas. I'm a 4th year TP student here in Trinity, and this summer past I did my internship with SETI, so that's with Breakthrough Listening. So it's funded by the Berkeley SETI. What is SETI? So SETI stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Very fancy. But it's funded by the Breakthrough Listening Programme. So in like 2015, the Breakthrough Listening got like $100 million from the Breakthrough Initiative, which I think is from, there's a billionaire, Russian billionaire funds that. But yeah, so they got $100 million to do research in SETI. So it's they mainly have people doing research in Berkeley. There's some people in, I believe, Oxford as well. And basically, Evan, who's professor here, managed to get involved in that, I believe. So he has 1 or 2 spots here in Ireland, but there are also, you can also, through your application, apply to go to work in Oxford and Sardinia, I want to say, but I believe Sardinia, the 3 interns from Sardinia were all Italian, so I think they only really take Italians. But yeah, you can also work in Oxford, and then there's 10 interns as well in Berkeley, but I don't know. Which you can apply for. There was an Irish guy who did SETI 1 year, and then next year he went and applied for the one in Berkeley as well. So that's also something you apply for. But yeah, so it's a 8 to 10 week research internship. I think it was 10 weeks last year, but mine was technically only 8 weeks this year. And you'll be working with Professor Evan Kane. So he's the head of iLoveFar, which is the Trinity's radio telescope in Birr, County Offaly. And it is €600 per week. So, what's involved research-wise? So, as I said, 8 to 10 weeks. The first week is entirely lectures, which are online by Berkeley. This is actually a really cool experience. They have even though it's online, they have a 360-degree camera, and you can see everyone in the room while they give the presentations, and they're all really good. They do it on a bunch of topics related to astrophysics mainly. So kind of preparing you for the internship, talking mainly about
programming stuff, radio telescope basics, and they also talk about machine learning, stuff like that, and then pulsars and FOBs and stuff like that. So generally, Evan will kind of give you a topic on what you want to research. It can be SETI based, or it can be kind of adjacent. Mine was definitely not entirely SETI based, but was more adjacent. So yeah, so it's kind of a programming heavy internship. You're dealing with data, you're sitting in a terminal all day, looking at using bash scripts. So Python or other languages are very, very, very useful. So yeah, this is Ilofar down in Offaly. It's really, really nice. You can see the high band and low band antennas. But mainly what you'll be using are the computers that are in the shed there. Yeah, we're using them remotely. So yeah, very cool internship. I have a picture here I stole from a friend from trip. We got to go to a conference that Breakthrough Listen we're having in Oxford, which is really, really cool. I was staying like 50 meters away from where Cass was. So that was really, really cool. I think it was called, the conference was called Cosmic Tapestry for Exploration. It was on SETI, AI and astrophysics and space exploration. So it was really cool. Met some really cool people. Met former. I went punting. This is what this. If you can't tell from these items there. They're like you go on a boat and you stick and you push yourself along. Very cool. Very pretentious. But I was in the boat with former NASA director, which was really cool. He knows this billionaire I was talking about personally. So he's a very cool guy. Got some very cool stories from him. Also met a guy from the Pentagon who works on the Pentagon's long-term strategy. So he called himself the Pentagon's alien communicator. So really cool people. So you make a lot of, and I met all the interns from the other, from America and all that. So very cool. You get to meet lots of cool people, make great connections. It was really cool, and you learn a whole lot. It was really, really good. So yeah, it's open to undergrad and master students and programming students. Definitely, it's not required, but definitely recommended. It requires a transcript, CV, letter of recommendation, and a cover letter. One thing Evan always says is to express interest in SETI. He gets like over 100 applications, and he said a lot of people just don't even say why they want to do it. So that's something you might be looking for. And applications usually close around February 1st. I presume it's the same this year. This year there was an interview process, so I think Evan told me he interviewed like the top 5 people and then picked the top 2. So I think if anyone has any questions on interview questions or anything like that, you can ask me. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you. Any questions? That's good. Thank you.
All right, second time's a charm. All right, hi guys, good to see everyone here. I'm going to be telling you about the Helmholtz Summer Projects, and I would highly recommend this maybe to second years. So if it's only second years, listen up, because I know it's hard to get into a lot of these really advanced internships, but this one is super low-key, very flexible, very chill. And the idea is that this research project is open to Trinity students only. So I did it twice. I did it in second year, and I also did it in my final year. So this was when I was in second year. This was a poster session that was held in the Maths Help Room, and more recently, this summer, it was held in the SNIA, right? So what you need to know is that there's about 10-ish groups each year. You'll find out more information probably February. This year, yeah, it was supervised by Marvin, and 2 years ago it was by Kirk. So you'll probably get an email from either of them. So if you're interested in doing a research project with one of your lecturers, just reach out by email, say, hey, would you like to supervise a project this summer with me, maybe 2 of my friends? And then they'll suggest some ideas, right? So if that goes well, you'll just write a very simple proposal. This is just like a 2-page document, like a Word document. You'll submit it to either Marvin or Kirk or whoever is in charge of it that year. And then you'll probably find out maybe in April if you got accepted or not. And I would say there's about maybe like a 50-50 chance of getting accepted. It's not too competitive. There is a modest stipend. You can see that you get less money per person the larger the groups are. So A lot of people ended up doing 3-person groups, and they're probably more likely to accept that because it's less money that they have to pay. It's for second years on, and I'm pretty sure it's open to any students. For some reason, we had like a psychology person doing a math project once. I don't really know if that was about. And it will probably start maybe at the end of May, start of June. But again, this is very flexible. And then for the second time I did it, we just arranged with my supervisor to start like way early for some reason, because it was more convenient for someone. So yeah, if you do get accepted, you'll just organize it casually with your lecturer to meet maybe 1 hour a week. And all you have to do is every now and again, your group will just give a presentation to the cohort. It's very casual. It's just with your fellow undergrads. It might be like 1 or 2 lecturers there. And at the very end, you'll submit a report, and then you'll attend a poster session. Okay, so why do I think second years in particular, but of course anyone, but in particular second years to do this? It'll probably be maybe your first real chance to do some actual research, and it's not too intensive. So the first time I did it, I was just working over the summer. I was only spending maybe like 5 hours at most per week on this thing. So it was very chill, very manageable. As I said, there's a decent chance you get into it if you decide you want to do it. I would maybe warn you, don't expect to get like a publication or anything out of this. Odds are that you'll do your 6 weeks, you'll finish up, and then you'll just move on to something else. You probably won't come back to this necessarily. What you will get out of this though is you'll form maybe a better relationship with the cohort here. So I did my first project with Stefan Hutzler from the School of Physics. And so the year following that, I did just my own research with him, and I ended up getting a paper out of it. And that's pretty much just because, I got to meet him, get to know him more because of this Hamilton project here. Okay, so what are the projects about? It'll largely just be similar to what you've done in your undergrad so far. So I guess choose a lecturer whose class you quite enjoyed. Say, hey, I really like this topic. Would you have any ideas of some short research we could do over the summer? They'll hopefully offer you some suggestions. They'll know better, what is suitable for 6 weeks. And then you'll just discuss it, maybe have a meeting with them, and then you'll just write a proposal together. Cool. So just an idea of what I did. This first project I did, I would say now would probably be a bit too physicsy to be accepted. Because when Kirk was doing it, Kirk is more of like a programming guy, and this was quite a programming project. So what we did was we actually took public data about the failure rate of hard drives, and we tried to come up with a predictive model for how long we should expect hard drives to survive. So this is, a very simple project. It only really should take you like 15 hours to do this, but we padded it out, And then the second project, I did it with Alex Barron, who you've heard from already. This was way more intense because we thought if we started early and we kept working for many more months on it, we might get a publication out of it. It kind of didn't work out that way, but this was way more pure maths. So that's kind of the range that you would expect. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is. If you have any more questions, you're probably better off just Googling, Hamilton Internship, TCD, and you'll be able to read more on maybe Kirk's website or Marvin's website. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to email me. Other than that, that's all I have to say. Thank you. Questions? No? Cool. So, do you have a question?
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize we were looking at. Do you think fresh years should do it?
It's only open to second years onwards.
Okay.
Yeah, but the reason I definitely think second years probably should consider it is because it'll be hard to get accepted to some of these other programs. I think this is a good, first step if you want research experience. But definitely, if you're interested already, I'm sure you'll find other programs as well. Thanks for the question. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Hi everyone, I'm Jordan and I'm here to talk to you about the SURE Summer Internship Programme. So SURE is a 10-week summer internship and it's run through the School of Physics, and it's very much for School of Physics students. So TPs, physics, astrophysics, nanoscience, maths cannot apply. You get about €300 a week. It's a very flexible start and end date. They give official dates, but it's up to you and your supervisor when you want to run it entirely. Last year there was about 7 internships awarded, plus one extra strange one. I don't think that'll come up or be relevant this year. And it's aimed at students in their JS year, completing their JS year, who are interested in postgraduate research and are planning on maybe looking for individual PhD funding. Now the timeline is quite nice as far as internships go. It's just 6th of February, an email was sent out to relevant students. You were given 3 weeks to send your application, and then a month before offers were made. After that, you had 2 months before you had to start anything. So that's basically a month till exams and a month off. Now, for the projects, there was about 14 offered. 4 were explicitly experimental, 8 computational, and 2 theoretical. Theoretical were both also quite computational. For the application, it's very simple. It's only 1 page, nothing more. You do a quarter about your background, any prior research, if you've done Hamilton, for instance, in your 2nd year. Your career ambitions, so you have to play up how much you really want to do research, so it's worthwhile. And then the other half, you just list out all the projects in your order of preference, but only the top 3 will matter, and you talk about them and why you want to do them specifically. But most importantly, perhaps the predictor entirely is your senior fresh year grades. Now, there's not a lot to expect, nothing you have to do for sure specifically. There's no requirement to produce a poster, no final report. Everything is between you and your supervisor. So, from my own experience, I took part in weekly group meetings. I was given a desk in an office, and then I had freedom to work from home, come in and work as much or as little as I wanted. I chose in the end to also produce a video for TPSA, and I would highly recommend that as well. But personal motivation is very important for sure, because they don't make you do anything. Some people start a project and then fizzle off without producing much at the end. I would highly recommend you email any supervisor you're thinking of putting high in your preferences and asking them how they would structure their program and what they would expect from you. My own research was in quantum inversion problems with Professor Mauro Ferreira. It was theoretical, but I spent most of the time working in Python. Had fun with it. Group meetings are fun as well, I think. I'd highly recommend this, and if you're interested, you can find my video on the TPSA YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yeah, you said every student has to be from the School of Physics. Do the supervisors have to be School of Physics, or can we do it with like the School of Maths, TP person?
So the projects come out in a list. It's not like Hamilton where you suggest. I don't know if you were to go to a professor early and ask them if they might offer, but it seems very School of Physics based. Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm kind of hungry, so I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly, to be honest. I'm Harrison. I'm a 4th year TP student, and this summer I did the Tyndall Summer Fellowship based in Cork City. What is this fellowship? It's a 12-week paid internship program. You get paid around €5,300, and to be honest, because it's Cork City, a little bit of half of that goes to rent. So you're realistically making, in terms of spending funds, about a little bit under £3,000-ish. £3,000 maybe exactly. You work on a research project under the supervision of a professional researcher, so this is really expansive. There was about 25 projects, and to be honest, only about a little under 10 of them are really TP focused. So I met a lot of people that were pure physics students, a lot of biomedical students because it's a photonics research center, a lot of engineering students, and even some people who are like computer scientists. You get a lot of additional workshops and sort of lab tour things. So there was a beginner's Python workshop, which you won't need to go to because you do more Python than will be expected there. Beginner's MATLAB workshop, which you probably would also already know how to do. Really interesting dissemination and networking ones. There was like a PhD kind of information session, which I found very helpful as a third year, considering whether or not you want to go into that sort of field. So they gave you a lot of information, and you got to talk to a lot of the PhDs who work there. There were loads of lab tours, but since it was a photonics institute, I didn't really give a fuck about the labs, so I only went to them. And then there was like a laser building workshop, which some people said was very fun, but I didn't really care, so I didn't go to it. You present your findings in a poster session at the end of the internship. There's like an award for like the 2 best posters or something. I didn't win it, sorry guys, but it's nothing too big. I won't bore you too much with what I did, because unless you're really into condensed matter theory, you're not going to care at all. I would say if you're like a third year, condensed matter theory is way more interesting than Dooley and Igor make it sound, and those terrible modules you have to do in second and third year. But it was mainly computational. I was running a lot of DFT and perturbation theory simulations. It was using the supercomputing framework that they had at the institute, which is honestly way cooler than it sounds. When you actually work with supercomputers, it's not interesting at all, to be honest. But coding and maths is fun. There was lots of background study. To be honest, what they had me do was pretty easy what I was expected to do, so I kind of like pushed it on myself to do a lot more difficult kind of background study and stuff, so you can like learn how DFT and perturbation theory actually works. Well, it's a special kind of perturbation theory, but it doesn't matter. But I think most of the projects were quite relaxed. You can see from the poster, you'd make band structures, and then you would fit them using this perturbation theory model, and you would kind of fit around a certain parameter, and that parameter, which you call the electron effective mass, is just really, really useful if you want to make LEDs. So in the end, I found some unique kind of parameters that hadn't been discovered before. So as of right now, we're working towards publishing them towards a physics journal. Fingers crossed it gets accepted. It'd be nice for the CV if it does. The application process, so it's not open yet. They're going to open around mid-December. It's a quite relaxed application. I'd say everything I applied for last year, this was honestly the easiest one to get done. So you have a project list. There's about 20-something projects. Like I said earlier, only a little under 10 of them are going to apply to TP students, and they're all going to be mainly computational. There's a cool few machine learning ones as well, but also mainly focused on condensed matter theory. You choose the top 3 from your project list, you throw in your CV, you talk about your grades, you fill in the questionnaire, and then there's another like personal statement like you'll see on every single application for an internship you have to do. This one's really nice because there's no references, because that is easily the most stressful thing about applying for anything, or getting your 2 references, so you don't have to worry about that at all. The applications are due late January, so you have plenty of time, and it's pretty quick, so this is something you can absolutely leave till the last minute. I finished my application in a pub 2 hours before midnight when it was due at midnight, and they didn't seem to care, so it's obviously fine. The interview round happens from mid to late February. You basically, you'll get an interview offer, you get thrown in. From what I remember, it was a Zoom interview with my 2 supervisors. There was a really intensive like technical interview where I was getting grilled a lot on quantum mechanics. They didn't care how much you knew about condensed matter. But like basically all the quantum mechanics you'll learn first semester, third year, and whatever fake module you do in second year. It's not really quantum mechanics, a little bit of that too. Just like be kind of studied on the basics of whatever topic you're doing. It's not going to be too bad. And then there's like a more how interested are you interview, which is obviously relaxed. You get your offer around mid to late March, so it will probably come like before a lot of offers for other things. So it'll be nice to have something in your pocket if you're more nervous about other things. And you begin in early June. So mine started the 7th of June, or the 5th of June, one of those 2 days, and it ends late August, a couple weeks. I think I had 2 weeks before class started. Here's just like a little picture around of everything I ended up doing. So this as a pointer. Yeah. This was me at the poster presentation at the end. So it's just a little project that you do at the end. These are all the interns. This is very beautiful Cork City. Obviously, it's not as interesting or as large as a bunch of other places you can head to, but I'm kind of a boring person, so I just enjoyed walking around and taking pictures a lot. This is that really nice park that looks over things. This was a cat I met on one of my walks. This was a bottomless brunch we did sometime at the start. I can't tell you I really remember how it went, but I'm sure it was fun. This was a really nice Japanese restaurant I went to, and this is the time where we came 3rd in the pub quiz, which I'm pretty competitive with Cork, to be honest. So yeah. Thank you for listening. If you do have any questions, you can go ahead. My email is joh@tcd, or you can ask anyone from the TPSA. They have my phone number now, so you can send me a text too. You have my consent to do that, I suppose. If you end up applying and you get like either the interview offer or you get an offer accepted itself, I'd really recommend getting in touch with me. I can give you any help you need with the interview, although it's not too bad. and also any tips about finding accommodation or living or things to do in the city. Other than that, any questions? Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Connor. I'm a third year TP, and I'm going to talk to you about the Laidlaw Scholars Leadership and Research Programme. Yeah. So what it actually is it's an 18-month program centered around developing your leadership abilities and your research abilities. So yeah, let me make it clear. If you're just looking to do research and that's it, that's not what this is entirely. You also do have to do lots of other things, like, well, I'll get into it, I'll explain. But yeah, so the first summer is a 6-week research program. The summer after that will be a 6-week, what's called Leadership in Action program. And there's a bunch of other stuff which I'll get into as well. So you can apply when you're in the second year, if you're in a 4-year course, which most people here will be. Or if you're in a 5-year course or an integrated master's course, you can also be in third year. Yeah. So, so there's 25 scholarships handed out every year. So that's to each university that Laidlaw operates in. So Trinity is one of them. So if you're from any other university in Ireland, you won't be able to do this. But some of the other ones are up there. Yeah, it's pretty nice list. So starting with the research project, which is I know a lot. Basically what everyone applies for, especially in STEM. It is 6 week and it's self-defined. So you kind of, when I say self-defined, I mean that you can come up with a project on your own, and then what you do is you bring it to a supervisor and they can say, yeah, that's possible, let's do it. Or more likely, they'll say something like, hey, let's alter this slightly because it's probably not feasible. So what I'd say is, think about what you want to do carefully because you're able to define your own project. You can't be doing something, like you could be doing something that you don't really want to do in the future. Obviously, like developing your skills for whatever, maybe future research career, which is really great. You can also be doing something you really don't want to do for 6 weeks plus. So, yeah. And then at the end, the output of it is a research poster and a report. So there's my research poster there. It's probably too small to see actually anything on it. I worked with Zhang, Professor Zhang, and he teaches second year electromag, if anyone has taken that module. And I researched memory studies, and I can talk about that after, but to save time, we'll just keep going. So workload-wise, honestly, it's kind of up to you. They don't really emphasize, I think, like a minimum amount of hours or a maximum amount of hours. Like you kind of hear like maybe like, oh, work 40 hours a week, but a lot of people get away with doing a lot less than that. Especially for the fact that you can apply for this in like STEM or in like arts or in business. Like you can apply in any course for any sort of research project. The general thing is it's meant to have sort of some sort of like an impact on society. Yeah, so I suppose if you're trying to apply, don't apply with something that's like very abstract and has no meaning for the rest of society. They want to basically hear about things that you know are going to like. I don't know, if you apply for something saying like it's going to solve climate change, they're gonna like oh, I love that. So yeah, so some personal advice is that so experimental physics. If you're going to apply for something experimental, it can generally be easier to justify in terms of you can probably get more tangible outputs. Like to them anyway, they'll see like things are probably more usable, and you know, it can kind of be easier to come up with experimental stuff on your own, I suppose. But then the downside of that is that, yeah, you can kind of suffer things like equipment breaking down, you know, not getting like safety clearance, especially if you're going to be working in Fran. You can't go in and like work by yourself in a clean room. You can't even sometimes operate some of these stuff when you're getting clearance, which isn't great. But yeah, like there's upsides and downsides to experimental stuff. And then computational and theoretical, I didn't do this, so I don't really know. So I suppose for me, I chose to do experimental more so because I couldn't think of like a theoretical project. But if you can think of one, and again, it has some sort of maybe impact, it might be good. You also might not be limited by stuff like equipment and by, I don't know, like the work schedule of some postdoc that has to supervise you. So, yeah. I'm not sure if I mentioned pay in this, but the Leadership in Action project and the research project for 6 weeks are both $3,500 pay. So, on top of that, if you're in the School of Physics, what Jan literally did for me, he literally just put me into like Shore, like somewhere in the graduate research experience program, and then when I wanted to work extra weeks because my project wasn't finished, he just gave me extra funding. So I don't know if that's generally an option, but yeah. Okay, I'll continue on. Leadership and Action projects. This is in your second summer of Laidlaw. So you'll apply in second year, do the first summer after second year, and then do the second summer of this Leadership and Action project after third year. So it's a 6-week long thing as well. Generally working within like an NGO or community organisation, has to be abroad, which unless you again have some sort of like an Erasmus or international experience, generally has to be abroad. So previous TPs I know have gone to CERN and have gone to World Science Foundation. But other things you can do are work in like, again, like NGOs. There are some projects that are like organised by Laidlaw itself, and you can apply to those. Or you can apply to your own thing, particularly obviously if you want to work in maybe some sort of like science organisation, maybe in like outreach or teaching or something. At the end of that, you need to produce logs and a report as well. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the 3 types of projects. Yeah, you can actually do an implementation of research, but it does again. It has to have some sort of like an impact on sort of society, and it can't just be another. It's like clearly defined, not another summer of research, like just in like a university. So yeah, like if you're, I suppose like if you're doing, if you're a politics student doing research in like policy making in the EU, you could go work in the EU for your second summer, and that would be like an implementation of your research maybe. But yeah, maybe there's some, I suppose, physics applications. Definitely looking for my project anyway though. So then on top of all this, there's other commitments and also opportunities as well. So one is the conference, which we just went to recently. That was over in Leeds. It was great crack. They pay for everything and they send you over and stay in a nice hotel. During the day, it's a bit waffly. I mean, you're going around, you're meeting other scholars from other universities. Like there are people from Hong Kong there, people from all over the UK, people from like Switzerland and stuff. So that was great. Some of the actual like talks they put on are kind of waffly, but you kind of just sit through them, get through them. And then the activities are on like in the night time to put on like a nice gala dinner and stuff. Yeah, so then they also do the Oxford Character Project, which is it's like a character development project, and you kind of do it alongside, like just basically throughout maybe sort of like third year. Then you have 7 lead days. So lead days are kind of these days on weekends throughout the 18 months where you go into usually the career service, or I have one on Saturday. I have to go to like the chartered accountant's office. Bit weird. And yeah, so they're basically to develop your like leadership abilities. So you'll have things on public speaking, you'll have things on teamwork, you'll have activities. Yeah, you'll just like go to an adventure centre for a weekend, which is pretty fun. Then some other stuff is like the Laidlaw Scholars Ventures. It's just like a massive fund that invests in like startups, just like that come from Laidlaw scholars. So I suppose it's just open to you and like, well, maybe a couple other 1,000 people like in the world. So yeah. And then yeah, you also have to basically interact with the what's called the Laidlaw Scholars Network. It's kind of like Facebook but for Laidlaw scholars. So I don't know why I said Facebook. That's kind of old. Oh, sorry. Here's the fun thing. Okay, sick. So start. Yeah. So your research project is again $3,500. Leadership and action project is $3,500. You also get a travel fund, which can also be used for research costs if you need to like buy equipment or something, which is up to $19,000. Although I've heard of people getting some like a slight bit more. And then conference and weekend away and stuff is all paid for. So yeah, there's that. Right, so the application. Again, you need to be in second year. So this is going out to first and second years here. Yeah, so what's included is you need to record a 3-minute video of you answering some question about leadership that they'll give you, like sort of like what leadership means to you, or like what do you think you'll develop it within the program. A research proposal, so that's quite important. Put a lot of effort into that. They tend to care a lot about the leadership stuff, but obviously if you have a bad research proposal, then they won't like that either. So like, you know, even put in some like references and stuff into like some literature that you've read, and you know, like send it to your supervisor, get them to correct it, that sort of thing. Yeah, and then you also need to have a leadership and action proposal. So it doesn't have to be something that you come up with. You can just put in like almost like a fake application for like one of the like projects that are given to you by Laidlaw, and what you think you'd get out of it and what sort of skills you think you might develop. Yeah, and then you also need a statement of support from your research supervisor, just being like, yeah, this guy's okay. So you put that in about the start of February. So I don't think the applications are open yet, as far as I know. But yeah, once they do open, get them in about the start of February, 12th of February-ish, I think last year, something like that. Then you get notified of it in March. You get invited to an interview, which is the interview part is really short, it's only 5-minute talk, just basically explaining why you want to do your research, etc. Then you also do some sort of like group activity, just to make sure that you can work within a team and you're not like, I don't know, like a dictator or something. And then you get accepted at the end of April, and you go in and you do your first few bits kind of just before exams. So yeah, that's it. Okay. So that's well, that's not me, but that was me. So if anyone has any questions for me, can ask me now or ask me after. I'd love to see more people. I'm the only person doing physics in my cohort of 25. Most of the people are like stuff with biology and mostly like sort of like humanities people. So I'd love to see more like physics and maths projects getting in. Yeah. Right.
Good news and bad news. Good news, I'm the last person talking. Bad news, I've got 2 things to talk about, so it might take a little while. But Connie's done a great job of explaining everything about Laidlaw, so I'm mostly just going to give you basically my perspective on it, having finished 2 years. In particular, sort of explain a bit more about the whole leadership in action project and what that entails, and sort of yeah, what that means, I suppose, when you're looking at it, and what does that read? Yeah. So yeah, I went to CERN to a what they call their innovation space. So it's Idea Square, and yeah, as Connor mentioned, there are like these central projects that are offered through the Laidlaw program, and when I applied in the first place, I was very focused on getting my research proposal like nice, and then it was kind of an afterthought about the leadership in action proposal, so I kind of said I'm going to go and do one of the central projects. But then from speaking to people about central projects and finding out that you don't actually get a stipend for those projects, and realizing that I could come up with something more tailored to myself, I started looking around, emailing loads of people, got accepted by a couple of people in the ocean cleanup in the Netherlands, and then one person was like, no, that's too short of a project, and kind of last minute, Kirk, who was my research supervisor, had like a business card from some guy in CERN and was like, I'll put you on to him, and straight away everything just like fell into place. So yeah, ended up there for 6 weeks working on a very self-defined project. My first summer research was using machine learning to find symmetries of physical systems. So then I was like, okay, I'll keep with the computational theme, and I went to CERN and put together a website sort of giving tutorials on how to use computational methods for sort of Laidlaw ideal of for good. So that's like the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So yeah, I have that website available online if you want to go and do a couple of Jupyter Notebook tutorials. They're all there. So yeah, I guess that maybe gives an idea of what leadership in action project can mean if you want to do something STEMmy that isn't research, because it can't be. But yeah, people within sort of STEM fields and outside of STEM fields also go and do more hands-on leadership in action projects, which are sort of working with communities that are sort of in need internationally. So yeah, I also have a slide on the stuff that Connor just talked about, so yeah, I guess I'll skip that. And then the other thing I was doing last summer was the DESY Summer Studentship. So DESY is Dublin Institute of Advanced Studies. It was set up by Eamon de Valera around the time that research in Europe was sort of taking the back seat for war, and yeah, there was a lot of theoretical physicists fleeing Germany, and America had this bright idea to set up an Institute of Advanced Studies, take in Einstein and the rest, and de Valera was like, yeah, we'll do that too, and got Schrödinger to lead it. So there's a history to that as well, but they're all lovely there now anyway. Yeah, they have like photos, like black and white photos, and then into like color on the walls of the halls, with like the people that are at their like whatever seminars or like conferences they had throughout the years. So I was working in where my desk was in a PhD sort of communal area, and I'd walk out of that room and there would be like Dirac and Schrödinger looking at me, sitting like in front of the DESY place, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's not related, it's not like tied to any university really. People can do PhDs there and they get a PhD given by Dublin University, but it's not like Trinity tied, but obviously well, it's in Dublin 4, kind of off Bagot Street when you cross the canal, so it's like fairly close to Trinity, and there are some people that like lecture here and that like work for DESY or in DESY. So yeah, that's basically what DESY is. They have like theoretical physics, cosmic physics, and Celtic studies. So just basically research that is for the sake of doing research is worthwhile. So yeah, they give out these summer studentships where you get a 2-month-long project with some of their theoretical physicists. and you get a stipend of 3,000, which is like fairly good for a summer project in Ireland. Yeah, like sure, or a little bit better, I guess, paying. So yeah, I put up a list of the projects that were offered. So each supervisor that wants to work with students puts forward one or two ideas, and you work in either on your own or in groups, depending on how many people get chosen. Well, yeah, get chosen per project. So I was in a group with two guys from Maynooth, working on that first one, matrix models for membranes. And that, yeah, everything is, I'd say, very theoretical or computational. So like matrix models for membranes involve learning some basic UFC and then a bit of like supersymmetry stuff required to understand like M theory, which is meant to be this all-encompassing theory. If you believe that or not, it's up to you. But yeah, so if you're like a mathematician in particular, like the investigating quiver equivalences is literally just maths. Well, mathematical physics, but I'd say maths. And yeah, if you're in this room, you're probably in TP, and then if you have like some particular area that you're particularly interested in, then they probably have a project on super theoretical stuff on it. So yeah. In terms of the actual application for this, well, one thing is, it says on their website that you have to be in your third year or penultimate year. I think they phrase that like as third year, but I know there's a guy, the mathematician who was working on the quiver equivalences. He had just finished his undergrad in Galway in maths, so there is some lenience on that. And then two guys I was working with were in second year in the new. That is penultimate year, but yeah, so like third year seems to be more of a guideline for like the level they expect you to be at, rather than like a surefire, we won't take you if you're not third year. So yeah, the application is sort of standard in that it's a CV and a personal statement, but then also got to get in touch with Tristan and ask him to write you a letter saying that you're great and that you're going to get a first class. So yeah, that's kind of maybe is a little bit off-putting, but I know like again, that's sort of you don't have to be like getting 100% in everything. You can, if you're a good student and you're interested in getting involved in research, nobody's going to tell you. I'm not going to try to help you do that. So yeah. Overall, I'd say the applications are late. So maybe if you're in third year and you've already applied to Hamilton, or even heard back from Hamilton Insure, I would still recommend applying to DIAS. I think it's cool to be able to say that you've done research somewhere else, for one thing, and also just to get the experience of like physics exists outside of Trinity. That was like a wild concept to me when I first tried it. Yeah, overall positive experience, would suggest. So if any kind of questions, please let me know.
Okay, so that is it for today. Thank you everybody for showing up. By some miracle, we finished before 8. So thank you for all of the speakers for A, doing the talks, B, doing them quickly and efficiently and informatively. Thank you.